Roar. Growl. Snarl. Bellow.
Welcome to Paleobites, the podcast that, like the filter feeding of Shonisaurus, as well as Google Chromebooks, apparently, which I'll explain in a bit, it sucks. Anyways, my name's Matthew Donald. Each week on a rotating series of guest co-hosts talk about and rate a genus of prehistoric animal, be it dinosaur, mammal, arthropod, and so on. This week I'm joined by someone who doesn't suck, or whatever they do is their own business. It's James. How are you?
I'm pretty well. Glad to be here talking about mystical, weird, prehistoric animals.
Yes, Jaymes Buckman is your full name. I had to remember to look it up. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh man, I am so sorry. We were supposed to record a little bit earlier, but I was being held hostage at my local coffee shop when I was trying to get the notes done by me accidentally pressing the power button on my Chromebook, and the whole thing shut down. And then when I tried to get it back up, it wanted me to enter in my password. I didn't remember my password. So it's like, okay, here's all the steps you have to do to change your password, to go through all the different, lock-ins and the protection stuff and the steps and the captchas and all that stuff. So finally I changed my password. However, then once I changed it, it was like, okay, all your local data on this computer is on your old password. So do you remember that? I'm like, no. That's the whole reason I'm here. So that's the whole reason why I said I forgot my password. So I tried a bunch of different ones that I thought it wasn't any of them. So I said I forgot my password. It's like, okay, well, since it's all your local data, we're going to wipe your entire computer and start afresh. And I'm like, oh boy. Thankfully, I didn't lose much because my computer is just a conduit for me accessing my drive and my Google Drive and my other sort of cloud networks. So most of that's on there. So I didn't lose anything really. But I still had to wait for it to open and to set up, and I was so afraid if I interrupted it, it would cause it to panic and destroy the Chromebook. So I had to just sit there. I was just updating and installing things. I'm like, I've got a podcast to record. Come on! All this because I pressed the power button accidentally and without any prompts, without any, are you sure you want to shut? It just shut down, and it led down all this. So here we are.
All of that is terrifying.
I know. Be careful.
It started with just I've been dealing with computers my entire life, and still when an update takes a little longer, when it stalls out a little bit, there's a part of my brain that's is my computer ever going to turn back on again?
I know.
Is it just going to be on a blue screen for 3 weeks? Is this the end of my computer?
Yeah, it felt like it for sure. But thankfully,
even that password stuff is so frustrating. Okay.
Oh my god! I swear I change my password so often now because that's not your password.
I've recently gotten some new management with my band, and every other day we're sharing my band's Spotify account so they can go in and do their stuff and Instagram
right.
And all that to see how the ads are ads, listens, all the number stuff that I'm not good at. And every a couple times a day, sometimes okay, they're gonna send you a code and just back and forth oh, what's the password? No, we changed the password. No, wait, that is the password for the other thing.
Yep.
All that stuff. It's
oh
it feels
my god,
that's my job now, just password stuff.
It's so ridiculous, and it's always
but it's
oh my god, it's always you don't know your old password. I'm like, okay, let's change the password here. Okay, what do you change your password to? Okay, I'll change it to this. But that's your old password. What? But I thought you said it wasn't my old password. It does that all the time. So. Anyways, finding a good computer that isn't frustrating, as much as we like computers, you and I, it seems to be a real unicorn of a machine. And speaking of which, we're talking about Elasmotherium, or plated beast, which is due to the laminated folding of the tooth enamel. But it might have been indirectly responsible for some unicorn myths. I don't know if you pulled up any pictures of it. I know I sent you one via your email, but so... Elasmotherium, it's a woolly rhino, but it's not the woolly rhino. Have you ever heard of a woolly rhino from the Ice Age times? This is not the main one, but this is a much bigger, more impressive one. So the main one is called Coelodonta, but this is Elasmotherium. Coelodonta is about the regular size of a regular rhino, while Elasmotherium is about the size of an elephant. So... Type, it is a rhinoceratid perissodactyl, a group of odd-toed ungulates that includes modern rhinos, tapirs, and horses. Even though it looks like a rhino and is part of the rhinoceratid group, it actually isn't closely related to modern rhinos, with the divergence point estimated to go as far back as 47 million years ago. That is a long time for a creature to develop into basically the same thing, but with more hair. So...
Is it related to the modern rhinoceros, or is it another sort of parallel evolution thing?
Based on the fact that the divergence point goes back 47 million years ago, I'm going to say parallel convergent evolution, yeah. So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I love when that, like, all that stuff like fascinates me. Like, one of my favorite things about the history of the world is that the feline form, like the cat like body type, like and like everything, like the face even, like has evolved at least three separate times.
Oh yeah, through like
That's so
mustelids
cool.
and through cats and through certain dog-like creatures too. Even foxes are basically feline dogs. So
Well, no, but I don't mean that just like body type. Like if you look at like reconstructions of like the old like saber tooths and stuff.
Oh yeah,
like
yeah, for
I'm
sure.
pretty sure those, or like the early ones. They weren't like related to. They weren't like technically felines. They just look exactly like leopards.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then
I love that.
it's crazy, and like all the different fish-eating creatures that have long snouts, like crocodiles and storks and spinosaurs, and even bears have longer snouts than other sort of things. So it's all good for fish eating. It's just a thing that helps. So size 13 to 16 feet, so it's 45 meters long, 6.6 feet to 2 meters tall at the shoulder, and around 3.5 to 5 tons. Think of a woolly rhino that went through a metal album phase and grew a single gigantic front horn that was like it was compensating for something. Like, I'm molding the clay to make you, Elasmo, God said. How big of a nose horn do you want? And then Elasmotherium just said yes. So, diet herbivore, thank Christ. Time late Pliocene to late Pleistocene, around 2.6 million years ago to possibly as recently as 39,000 years ago, which means there's a non-zero chance that cavemen saw this thing and screamed "Ah!" in a way that transcended language. So that's pretty cool. Location: Russia, Ukraine.
They rode them.
We might have. I mean, probably not, but who knows? I won't say no for an until it's shown it hasn't happened. It's going to happen. So. Anyways, location: Russia, Ukraine, Kazakhstan, Siberia. Basically anywhere that sounds like it'd be freezing and full of woolly monsters, which Siberia is basically still like that nowadays. So, it was described in 1808. Pop culture appearances: the TV miniseries Prehistoric Park, the games Jurassic Park Builder, Jurassic World the game, Jurassic World Alive, and Prehistoric Kingdom. It might also be a background character in Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs, but that could be ChatGPT lying to me when I asked it what pop culture Elasmosaurus was in, so who knows?
Can I add to that list actually?
Yes.
Because when I was a kid and I wasn't. I mean, I've only, from a very young age, I thought rhinos were like pretty cool, and like I'm used to like the classic like kind of like rhino like design of like very kind of like the sort of like smooth hide.
Yeah, leathery but smooth. No hair.
Like a rock made out of leather is kind of how.
Yeah.
And I when I started playing World of Warcraft, there was like a rare mount that was a woolly rhino.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
have like animals in that game that are just like earth animals, but a little different.
Oh
like
yeah, they have so many prehistoric. I mean, doesn't World of Warcraft have dinosaurs basically in it? Like,
oh yeah, no, there's all sorts of stuff. Their dinosaurs are really cool.
Yeah.
Dinosaurs instead of tyrannosaurs, for instance. But yeah, they had like a woolly rhino, and I think like I didn't think about it like consciously, but I think at the back of my mind I just kind of assumed that I was like, oh, they're like taking a rhino and like Warcraftifying it a bit by adding wool. And then like it was a little later when I learned that like actual woolly rhinos existed in the before times.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
I didn't know that. My first exposure was through World of Warcraft. So yes, the woolly rhino also appeared in that game.
Oh, for sure. Well, it's like its horn is huge. It's just like the horn itself is about 2 meters or 6 feet long, like and made out of keratin, like hair and fingernails. It wasn't preserved in fossils. The evidence of it is written in the skull. Elasmotherium skulls have a large circular bony dome in the forehead with a rough furrowed surface of about 13 centimeters or 5 inches deep and nearly 90 centimeters or 3 feet across. So this is where like there are blood vessels and connective tissue anchored around a massive keratinous horn to the skull in modern things. So that's why in living rhinos, the horn sits on a rough patch of bone exactly like this. So we know, even though we don't have the fossils of the horn itself because that doesn't fossilize, that we have the Elasmotherium carried some pretty serious headgear. So
I was doing some research.
Yes.
And apparently there has recently been some dispute about the size of the horn. And
yeah, because since we don't have it,
trying to say they're trying to say it's smaller, and like they gave their own designs of how it looks, and I think it's a lot less cool. And I think those paleontologists are being irresponsible by making something this cool less cool.
That happens to paleontologists all the time.
We need a bit. Yeah. Well, I mean,
like,
the early paleontologists, like, they were just like mountebanks, and I think we need to go back to that because that's what
these aren't animals; they're monsters. They're
dinosaurs
for
in the first place.
Hollywood purposes.
Make paleontology like irresponsible again.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, like the old depictions of like the giant fish called Leedsichthys, they went up to like 150 feet long, and now it's like a third of that now. So, and like the only thing that seems to be getting cooler with every new discovery is Megalodon. Every time we find new evidence of that thing, we're like, okay, it's bigger and more badass than we even thought before. Now they think it was upwards of like 70 feet long and had like giant teeth. It's just like that's the only one that's getting cooler, but everything else seems to be getting downgraded. So. But
I will say I'm not against feathers. Like I know a lot of people revolt when they see feathers on dinosaurs. I think that does not look. I think it both look cool.
Oh, they for sure. I think it depends on the story for sure.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, I like feathered dinosaurs. I think they're cool. And I also like how many feathered dinosaurs there are, and way more than you might realize. So to the point where some people even depict potentially Pachyrhinosaurus, which is like a Triceratops-like one, but out in the Arctic, with like woolly fur, kind of like a muskox, but it's feathers. So. I've seen that before. That's pretty cool. But anyways, so what the horn for Elasmotherium was used for, of course, there are a bunch of theories. Snow plow is one of them, like a subside snow. Digging for like in the hard soil. Defense, obviously, and then also for display and dueling. They didn't really shove like it into things because it wasn't hard enough. I think it would get injured really easily. I don't think it was used too much for like real blunt force. I mean, maybe a little bit, of course, but like it was mainly used for display and like waving its nose around to try and showing off that big horn to try and be like, hey, don't mess with me, bitch. I'm got this big ass horn. And it's just, yeah, but who knows how big it was. Based on what we found on the lumps of the skulls and where the blood vessels are, it's probably very big. But yeah, maybe not like as metal as maybe the World of Warcraft depiction might have it as.
I mean, I compared the depictions of the Woolly Rhino to the Warcraft one, and they look pretty similar.
Oh, nice.
Honestly, I think actually, if we're being like fully honest, I do love Warcraft, but in this case, I think the like real life version actually looks cooler. I think the horn in real life is bigger. Like the horn in real life is like about the like height of me,
right.
And I don't think it was like quite that prominent in the Warcraft version. They were more like kind of like like a little smaller, like more slightly more modest, like modern rhino types. But the prehistoric guys like right up there. I think they could give a Warcraft version a good fight.
Nice. But so, like we said, that they might have gone. It lived up to like about 29,000 years ago, or even 39,000 years ago. That humans encountered this thing for sure. Like we evolved about 300,000 years ago, and by the time of this time period, we were already in Europe and Asia. So we definitely saw it. Like, and maybe, if not necessarily Neanderthals, but Homo sapiens itself might have seen it. And that's why a lot of people might think this might have been not the definitive origin of the unicorn, but like there's a lot of depictions of people like finding creatures like this, and more than just rhinos, but other stuff. Like apparently in Roman times, there was a historian called Pliny the Elder, Pliny. What a silly name. But he described a ferocious creature.
Yeah,
he described the body of a horse, the feet of an elephant, the tail of a boar, the fur of a boar, and a single black horn 3 feet long in the middle of its forehead, accompanied by a deep bellowing cry. That sounds like a woolly rhino, particularly the hair of a boar, which is unlike that of a rhino. Now, obviously, it didn't live that long, but the fact that he found something like that, and like maybe either via cave paintings or seeing a Indian rhino or something like that shows that kind of form has always fascinated us. And like in the Kazakh folklore, there is a creature called Korkut, Korkut. It's been associated with a wild bull or unicorn-like creatures in legends, and there are speculative links made by folklorists to the Siberian unicorn, which is the other nickname for Elasmotherium. While hard evidence is scarce, it's clear that the idea of the unicorn didn't arise in a vacuum. Something real planted the seed. And while it could have been regular rhinos, it also could have been Elasmotherium, especially considering, like, just how big that horn is. And like modern rhinos, they have cool horns, but they're not as big as this. So like you like a modern Indian rhinoceros, that horn is more like a bump. Like an African rhino has a pretty impressive horn. I'll give it that. But like not even that's not as impressive as a Elasmotherium. And so the fact that like this survived in Kazakhstan up to about 29,000 years ago based on a skull found there, it means that these things survived into human history. Well, it's not history because nothing was written up. Still prehistory, but like there were Homo sapiens there for sure. So this has cemented Elasmotherium's cultural significance as the likely truth behind the unicorn myth, and that's why it might be the unicorn in a certain way. It's like a perfect mix of reality and legend.
And I love like the idea of like our like actual like legitimate ancestors like living around all these things that like look totally like too wild for like reality as we have like existed in it through like recorded history.
Oh, for sure.
Like I'm not. If ethicists want to dispute this, like I'm not against that. Like I don't have the required wisdom to like really weigh on this fully, but in just more of a sort of like whimsical sense.
Yes.
Like my whole life, people have been talking about, oh, we're like so close to like cloning the animals that lived around this period, like the early like 300,000 years ago kind of era of human history, and like the idea that like that they're like those could be have their habitats like and exist a little bit in like small numbers in our lifetime like is really cool. It is
really cool. The only issue is I don't know what we do with them. I think they'd be glorified zoo exhibits because the environment we have is not really suitable for them anymore. We could study them, I guess.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of start to lose. Yeah, that's where I kind of start to lose my enthusiasm because I don't want animals to suffer. Like I'm very like rights, but just like if I'm thinking about it in a vacuum, just like childlike sense, no logic needed. Then so cool.
For sure. For sure, indeed. I've definitely thought about that for sure. And yeah, it's amazing how recently some of this stuff is. Like some of these creatures I've talked about, not this one, but some other ones. There was a big ground sloth called Elasmotherium that I've done an episode on that was elephant-sized. It was a giant ground sloth. And it lived to about 11,000 years ago. 11,000 years ago. That is
1,000?
11,000. That is so
like,
recent. You know how recent that is?
Civilizations were
the
like
city of Jericho predates that.
There you go.
Jericho dates back to about 12,000 years ago. So imagine when the city of Jericho was first founded, there were creatures like Elasmotherium and mammoths and all sort of stuff still on this planet. And Jericho's a city that's around today. So that's incredible.
That so much. Elephant sloth in the age of Jericho. That is beautiful. That is the most beautiful thing I've heard today.
Oh, well, I'm glad to hear it. So let's rate it 1 out of 65 million, Elasmotherium. I'm going to rate it 62 million. It's pretty damn cool. It only loses some points because I'm more of a dinosaur guy, but I still like this one.
Yeah, no, I was going to put again, like more towards like the dinosaur and the more like craziest things. But for what it is, like I'd say like I was going to go like high 40s, but I think it's got to be at least like mid 50s.
Oh, for sure.
The 6.5 million I think seems pretty good. Like it's just like it's the like the like kind of unicorn that's like dressed for a metal concert.
For sure, this thing would rock.
It's the one you want to. It's the one you want on your side of the mosh pit.
Oh, for sure. In the mosh pit, for sure, this thing would rave and be nuts. For sure. This would be... Remember that scene in 300 with the battle rhino that was just felled by one spear? Just imagine this thing in it instead. It would take more than a spear to bring it down. All right, well, that's it for this week. If you want to get a hold of the show, you can contact me at palebytespodcast@gmail.com or at palebytespodcast on Blue Sky or on Instagram. Or you can follow me personally at Matthew Donald Creator on Facebook or Matthew Donald64 everywhere else. Where can they find you, James?
Look for Hot Apollo, HOTAPOLLO, on any social media or music streaming service. If you can hear my band's music, and then you can reach out to me on Instagram or like whatever, and then tell me what you thought of it, or tell me what you thought about dinosaurs or anything else you want. I'm very easy to find.
James is very chill with this kind of stuff.
Twitter. Yeah, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Spotify, YouTube, Apple, wherever. We're
wherever. I'm just not on Twitter anymore, and TikTok we might lose it again. We'll see. Man, here in America. Anyways, all right, well, that's it for this week. So long, folks. Enjoy and rock on with the rhinos. I don't know.
Rock on the Rhinos, I like that. That might be a song.
Yeah, rock on with the rhino. There we go.
Writing that down.
Thanks for listening. If you want to further support the show, you should subscribe to my Patreon at patreon.com/MatthewDonald, where you can get ad-free episodes, and you can get the raw, unedited episodes, and every month you get bonus episodes where we talk about pop culture featuring prehistoric animals. We've talked about Jurassic Park, we've talked about the obscure strategy game Dino Island, we've talked about Friends, we've talked about Google Chrome, we've talked about Dinoverse, we've talked about Terra Nova. Who knows what we'll talk about? It's a mystery every time. So go and check it out at patreon.com/MatthewDonald. Thank you so much for listening, and have a good day. Chomp.